Hello everyone, and welcome to the practice journey. When you play an orchestral instrument, one obvious possible career path is to play in an orchestra. If that is your goal, you have to navigate the stressful world of auditions. Usually, in auditions you must play standard solo repertoire as well as orchestral excerpts. Playing excerpts is a unique experience as you only use them in auditions, and for that reason it's more difficult to get experience playing them. So what do? That is the topic of today's video. How do you practice orchestral excerpts and get them ready for an orchestral audition? Especially when practicing excerpts, I would strongly advise using the practice method known as random practice. The idea is to quickly jump between different parts of your practice using no more than 5 minutes in a row on any one thing. You can jump between excerpts in this manner, or even include practicing repertoire, technique and etudes. The most important thing is to only spend those maximum 5 minutes at a time and daring to just leave your practice unfinished and return to it later. Doing this will first of all make practicing less monotonous and hopefully more fun, but it's also practical and leads to good results. The reason for that is that when you practice the same excerpt over and over again, you run the risk of teaching your brain to repeat mistakes you keep making. The human brain is lazy and relies a lot on habits, and it doesn't distinguish between good and bad habits. Jumping between excerpts doesn't give your brain a chance to learn bad habits. Also, it's just healthy looking at an excerpt with fresh eyes instead of getting stuck in tunnel vision, and random practice allows you to do so repeatedly in every practice session. Using random practice is in general a good idea, and using it for practicing excerpts is a great way to get a feel for it due to the short nature of excerpts. You will most likely have the feeling that you gave the excerpt a good try in the 5 minutes allowed, making it easier to go away from it without the temptation of going on a bit further in a longer piece or repeating a technical exercise until it's perfect. In time, random practice might become the way you just naturally practice. If you even have to learn it, that is. Apparently there are people who practice this way naturally. While we as musicians often don't like the idea of perfection in music, it is worth noting that excerpts are judged in an almost mathematical manner. If there ever was a reason to practice anything to perfection, it would be excerpts, and it is almost achievable due to their short lengths. I would advise that you see yourself in the role of the most extreme jury member you can imagine. Think about what they would notice and find as a reason for not choosing you, and that is where you should put your focus. Examples of these shortcomings could be sound. If you don't play with a nice sound, a jury will likely eliminate you immediately. Doing exercises with long notes can help you develop your sound, and I would especially suggest focusing on how to start the excerpt. Those first notes are the most important of all. Intonation. While related to sound, always keep intonation in mind, and feel free to check with the tuner. Dynamics. Don't be too imaginative with dynamics. They are usually very clearly written in excerpts. You can, however, exaggerate them, really distinguish forte from piano, so the music doesn't get stuck in mezzo forte. Instrumental technique. Obviously, each instrument has its own strengths and weaknesses. Understanding your instrument and how to make it work is extremely important, but the specifics of how to do that are beyond the scope of this video. For especially tricky excerpts, you can use some of the same methods presented in my video about practicing difficult repertoire. Play with purpose. Finally, I would challenge you to break the barrier of thinking about excerpts as some kind of math test. Juries might be tough on you, but the best way to convince them is to play with musicality. You need to convince them that you care about the music and see it as more than just notes. Doing a bit of research into your instrument's most popular excerpts and understanding their context can be a great help in this regard. When you're finally ready to go and have traveled to the audition, your final hurdle is dealing with nerves and/or stage fright. This is a very individual problem, so I have no magic cure. Some people find auditions more frightening than concerts. Some feel the exact opposite. Some prefer playing behind a screen, some in front of people. Whether or not you play the audition behind a screen is actually probably the biggest variable you will encounter. The sad truth is that the best way to learn is through trial and error. But I will share a few tips of my own. 1. Arrive well in advance. It helps me settle my nerves if I'm at the place and can sit down, try to relax, and familiarize myself with the location. 2. Don't over-practice on the day. If practice rooms are available, use them only for warm-ups and small exercises. You get tired more easily when you're nervous. I would rather use mental practice, even with a ratio of 90 to 10 between mental and physical practice on the day. Be ready, not tired. 3. Remember to breathe. Wind players use their breath a lot, but even as a wind player myself, reminding myself to take deep breaths helps a lot with my nerves. It's easy to forget for string players, I'm told. Try to make a habit out of it and see where that takes you. Anyway, those were the methods which I've personally used while practicing orchestral excerpts and going to mock auditions. As always, I would love to hear from you in the comments. How do you like to practice your excerpts? And what tips and tricks help you deal with nerves on audition day? Please let me know, and I hope you will return next time for another chapter in the practice journey.